Our debaters are Star Parker, the founder and president of the Center for Urban Renewal and Education and a nationally syndicated columnist. Please give her a round of applause. Niger Innis, who serves as the national spokesman for the Congress of Racial Equality, CORE. Founded in 1942, CORE is the third oldest and one of the big four civil rights groups in the United States. Mr. Innis is also chief strategist for the TeaParty.net, one of the largest national Tea Party organizations in the nation. Next up, Julianne Malveaux, author, economist, and president emeritus of Bennett College for Women. And finally, the Reverend Sharpton, longtime activist, author, and founder of the National Action Network and host of MSNBC's Politics Nation.
Well, Ed, thank you, and thank you to the good folk of BET, Centric TV, and the Office of Cable Television for having this extraordinary discussion, which is greatly needed in our community. You know, we celebrate Emancipation Day in Washington, D.C., 151st anniversary, and that was an emancipation of our bodies. Well, tonight I ask the audience here and those that are watching us in cyberspace to emancipate your mind. Emancipate your thoughts. Discard preconceived notions that many in the media and academia often promote. Free your minds from the notion that one political party is the party for all of Black Americans, that liberalism or socialism is the only pathway for Black people. Like Starr said, for over half a century in our cities across this great nation, we have had a de facto dictatorship. A dictatorship of one-party rule. Liberal Democrats have completely dominated our city councils, our mayor's offices, and congressional seats. And I have one question for you. Is it working? Are we better off as a people over these last 5 and 6 decades for allowing this monopoly? Very briefly, during the civil rights era, the number of Black children being raised outside the nuclear family was less than 25%. Today, 75%, over 75% of Black children are born in households without a father present. The disparity between Blacks and white households in terms of wealth has quadrupled over these decades. And cities like Chicago have ruthlessly been dominated by big city liberal democratic machines and have become killing fields for our young Black people, in particular, young Black men. I hope we will continue to get into these issues as we discuss it tonight. I look forward to the debate and dialogue, and I ask you once again, emancipate your minds and receive the dialogue. Thank you.
Niger Innis.
I'm going to take advantage, Ed, of what you allowed us to do earlier. Come on out and just talk to the audience. First of all, I want to thank BET, Centric TV, Councilman, and all of you for coming out tonight. I think we should have more of this type of dialogue. I think yes, you can applaud. The problems in our community are so profound, it would be foolish of us to reject ideas or allow politicians to reject ideas by labeling them, oh, well, they're Republican, oh, they're Tea Party, therefore they're racist and don't have the interests of this community at heart. The problems are too profound. Now, I started my discussion with a pretty bleak picture. And there's no question, if you look at the breakdown in the family, if you look at the incarceration rates, the murder rates, they are all worse today than they were 50 years ago. And if it was just a question of racism, of segregation, of slavery, then you would think logic would dictate that the further and further away you get from these awful institutions, the better off we're going to be. If it was just a question of representation, you would think that since we've got 3, 4, 5 times the number of representatives and council folk and mayors that are people of color today than we did decades ago, that we'd be better off than we were back then. But we're not. So obviously, we have to look at other problems within our community. And as bleak of a picture as I have painted, I'm very optimistic. I'm optimistic because unlike our grandparents and great-grandparents, I believe we have control over our own destiny. I believe more than ever, we have control over our own destiny. We changed the arc of history in the most powerful country in the history of mankind, and that being the United States of America with our great civil rights revolution. If we can change this great country and change it from an arc of history where people were proud to call themselves racist to now where everybody is ashamed to be a racist, then we can change ourselves and control our own destiny. Do not let politicians who do not want to be accountable for you and want to throw out the race card as an excuse and a hustle. It is a hustle against you. It is a hustle against your own interests. Don't let them get away with it. And tell your children that no, you have challenges. There's no question you have challenges. But your challenges are not greater than that of your ancestors. And you have more opportunity and you have more freedom to determine your own fate than any black people in the history of this country. The reason I'm optimistic is because I believe we have that control. I believe we can control our own destiny. And I think once we liberate our minds and allow a vigorous dialogue like we had here tonight, let me thank Reverend Sharpton, let me thank Julianne and Star and Ed for this vigorous dialogue. The more of this vigorous dialogue that we have in all of our communities, our ghettos and barrios across this country, the more we're going to get closer to salvation and solutions. God bless you and thank you very much.
Thank you.